Hello, Blackhawks fans, and welcome to another edition of the Four Feathers podcast. Insert your Usher and Gucci memes. It feels so good to be back. I'm Ron Luce, joined by the great Tony Marchese and none other than Mr. Steve Kwiatkowski. Gentlemen, it's been literally a month and about 5 days since we last chatted on these airwaves. How are you guys doing? How's your summer been?
It's been great. I'm enjoying the summer. It doesn't feel like it's been that long, but yeah, it's been a minute. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about some Blackhawks tonight. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. I think Ronald, the Facebook stream just tanked, so we are not live on Facebook. Sorry to anybody who was trying to join us on Facebook. You're gonna have to join us on YouTube or on X. Guys, I'm doing well. It's been a fantastic summer. Ronald had an excellent bachelor party. We're going to talk a little bit about some golf that took place. Maybe a trophy was won by my scramble squad, which may have also included Ron. We'll get to that in a little bit, but other than that, it's been quiet in Blackhawks land. So I'm glad that we have some news to talk about today.
Most definitely. My dad here. Let the puck drop. Hello, dudes. Hello, Skokes. Good to see you. And of course, Daniel Barry says hello and happy Thursday because the weekend starts on Thursday here at On Tap Sports Network. Gentlemen, it feels so good to be back. Genuinely. I agree with you, Tony. It's been a nice summer. We've had a lot of fun. We will talk about that a little bit later. And it feels good to have some meaningful news. Obviously, there's some things that have happened since our last show that we will also get to and discuss this evening, but a big news on the airwaves on Thursday. And gentlemen, I think there's no better way than to just dive into this thing. One of maybe what we could call the pillars of the Chicago Blackhawks future is inked to a 7-year extension as of today. That is Frank Nazar, 7 years. The official number is just a hair under $6.6 million. In fact, it is $6.599991 million. He had to sneak the 91 in there at the end in order to make it work. Guys, what are your thoughts? What are your reactions? This is big Blackhawks news and probably the biggest, truthfully, of the summer thus far.
I think it's super cool to see the Blackhawks future core come together. I was really shocked when I saw the numbers at first. I was like, damn, like 7 years, and that's kicking in next year because he's on his entry level. So technically, we still got 8 years of Nazar. And for the price that we're getting him for, like it's kind of a little bit of a gamble from Kyle Davidson. He's fairly confident in what he thinks he's getting in Nazar. I thought it was like, that's, I don't call it a big swing, but it's like he has faith in this kid. I guess we'll see next year because he hasn't played a full NHL season yet. And what we saw at the end of last year looks really promising. I just want to see that for the entire season. All of his playmaking, his reads, at first he struggled to finish when he was trying to score goals, and then he kind of figured it out. So we'll see if he can do that next year and hang on to it. So I'm pretty pumped. I like the signing. And also down the road, if Nazar is who we hope he is, a solid 2C, that deal is going to be a steal. So I like it. I can't complain.
Well said, indeed. Tony, anything you want to add on to that?
I do, and I don't want to play party pooper, but I might start to get into some things that also relate to prior traumas that I've experienced watching sports. Overall, I think that getting a deal done with Frank Nazar at this point, excellent. I love seeing that he's going to be locked up here long term because I like the player. However, this is a very small sample size. This is a very young player, one that's, could potentially be worth this contract, if not more, as Steve mentioned. However, I'm having a little bit of deja vu when it comes to this in terms of rebuilds, and that's with my other team, the Chicago White Sox, and the strategies that were employed by general manager Rick Hahn to lock up early talent on high value dollar contracts. Now, Frank Nazar isn't exactly getting top tier money, but somewhere near 6.5 or above 6.5 per season is aggressive. Now the Hawks do have the room to work with this. However, I've also watched guys like Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert get locked up early on or before they even appeared in Major League Baseball games. This seemed to have come just a little bit early to hand out this. I expected more of a bridge contract for a guy like Frank Nazar, just given the fact that I think, what have we only seen 59 games so far in his NHL career? At the same time, this is a kid that was just recently invited to the U.S. Olympic hockey team camp. So obviously it's not just a Blackhawks thing where they see this kid and the potential talent as he develops. Could he potentially crack the U.S. Olympic roster? That would be, I think it's, he's probably on the lower end there. But the fact that he's included in this mix with the USA's biggest hockey stars already this early in his career does speak to the fact that Kyle Davidson hands him out 7 years at $6.599991 dollars. It's incredible to see that they are investing long term. I do have that brief hesitation though, guys, where I've seen young talent get locked up on high value contracts. I think Connor Bedard was looking at that and made some comments on it today that his boy made some money. I don't want to see it slip away or impact his game. He's going to have to live up to that contract right away, or I'm going to be living even more deja vu. I know that's not what people want to hear, but prior traumas do impact my reading on this one, guys.
Tony, I can build off of, I think, what you had to say, and I think some of the fears are valid. Genuinely, I do, and I think I can back up some of your negativity, but I will also counter you with some positivity, because unlike you, I don't root for a baseball team that has a failed rebuild just yet. So I don't know what that looks
just
like.
Just yet.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But I'll tell you what, I think this is in a lot of ways a little different, and here's why. Frank Nazar played 53 games last season. Obviously spent a large time in Rockford, like a substantial chunk of time, right? It was about 20 games in Rockford. Was really good, was better than a point per game player at the AHL level. You love to see that, right? In addition, though, he was red hot in the last 2 months of the season. Steve, you consistently wrote over the course of the season about how much Nazar drove play and created offense, but just didn't have the finish. The finish wasn't quite there yet. And then all of a sudden, we started to see that turn later in the season. Gentlemen, I've done a lot of research recently, so I've got these numbers memorized. 12 of Nazar's 26 points last season came in the final 2 months of the year, March and April. And April's not even a full month, so really a month and a half. On top of that, 9 of those 12 points came just in the month of April. He was red hot and took that into the World Championships for Team USA and helped them capture gold. He was tied for the scoring lead on the team with, I believe, Logan Cooley. It was a spectacular end of the season for Frank Nazar. And I think teams are starting to see now what the Hawks got at 13. He looks like right now the steal of that 2022 draft at number 13 overall. I really believe, I'm going to go ahead and spew hot takes because I'm in a really good mood today. I think Frank Nazar makes the Olympic team. I do. I think he's going to come out of the gate swinging, and they are either going to do one of two things. They're going to put him on the team, or they're going to regret not putting him on the team. I think it's going to be that kind of season for Nazar. Now, I'm not saying he's going to go and put up 100 points, but I think this is a player that next season, he was on a 40-point pace last year if he played all 82 games at that level. Let's say he's a 45 to 50-point player as a 22-year-old in the NHL. I'll take that every day and twice on Sundays. And quite frankly, Tony, to your point, he's probably not going to live up to the almost $6 million in year one or maybe even two. But 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, that's really where he's going to become the bargain, I believe, if he continues this ascent. I think they really believe in this guy. And I think, Tony, to your point about the White Sox, Luis Robert got money before ever touching a major league field. We've got a healthy sample size of Frank Nazar. Like, it's still not a ton, as Steve noted, right? It's not a full season just yet. But it's a good chunk. And I think we've got a good understanding as fans what he can bring. And the front office has a better understanding because they have all the data and all the insight and everything they need to, obviously, in developing their own players. So I'll tell you what, gentlemen, I saw this contract today. I was watching some things that are required for some of Ron Luce's new ventures in life, and I was a little upset based on how things looked today until this happened. This really changed my mood on the day because I think this is a contract. I think we're going to look in the same light as an Alex Vlasic contract. We saw Ben Pope mention that today. I can't echo that enough. I got to put pen to paper and go into GM Ron world with the cap, and we'll talk a little bit about that more. This looks like the type of deal that I think is A, worth the risk. Tony, you noted that. But B, still at the same time going to provide value to the Blackhawks in the long term. And I love that one of them got locked up on a really friendly deal because I think Spencer Knight and Connor Bedard are both set up to really good seasons this year, which means really good money for them on their next contract. If you get Frank Nazar as that third piece at a little bit of a discount, that could be the difference down the road of where they can add some of those big veterans that can really take you over the top when it's time to compete.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I wasn't trying to rain on the parade. I don't think that this is a bad thing. I'm just saying I might have a little bit of caution with
PTSD is a hell of a thing.
Signing players very early on, and it just leads to, if it doesn't work out, man, it crumbles very hard. And I think that we've got to be understanding that this isn't the full thing yet. If he stumbles out of the gate in what I would technically consider his sophomore season, I'm pissing off Russell Luce right now.
He said he loves the deal. Tony, I will say this though, on the subject of your team giving out contracts to players at a young age.
But this isn't the only time that I've drawn comparisons to Kyle Davidson and Rick Hahn.
I know it's not
on this show.
But there's also
because I'm not sold on. I guess I'm not sold on Kyle Davidson.
I think that's where your traumas really lie. Is you're not sold on the general manager. I don't know if this necessarily is a player thing for you, which is understandable. I will say this though: there is evidence though of that model working because the Atlanta Braves have won a World Series with some of those guys on some friendly deals. So
yeah, NWI Steve up in here real quick, trying to tell you how that all went down.
Oh, I know. I'm here to poke and push the right buttons tonight when it comes to that. But gentlemen, to refocus really quick on the Nazar extension, I saw a little bit of the discussion today, and everybody's wondering, so Connor Bedard's next. I really don't think we see a Bedard contract until right before free agency next year. I think the same with Spencer Knight. I think those two, because of what's at stake and what their ceilings can be, I think Nazar was the win. Do you guys have predictions of A, maybe when they sign, and B, how much for? I'm curious to see what your guys' heartbeat is. Do you think one of them also gets done? Do we all of a sudden look at Kyle Davidson and go, how the hell did you get these two done so quickly? Or do we wait and see what happens after this season and probably see those two guys sign next summer?
They're gonna wait, especially for Bedard. I would be very surprised if they sign him before the season even starts. And it's smart for Bedard too, right? With the rising salary cap. If he were to sign right now, I looked up on evolvinghockey.com. He got projections for players or contracts. And right now, Bedard's projected to get around a 8-year deal at $10.5 million. I think if he has an incredible season, he's going to squeeze more money from the Blackhawks, and they're going to give him whatever he wants. So it's in his best interest to kind of just show off his skill and talent this season. And prove that he's worth a lot more than what some people maybe think. But for Spencer Knight, I'm not too sure. I think it's going to be similar to Bedard, where they're going to wait to see how he does this season because he's still young. He's a goaltender, and nobody knows what goaltenders are like. So I think with Knight, it'll probably be a short-term deal, I think, where I think Bedard would probably be maybe in around the 7 to 8 year range. I'm not sure, but I don't know. What do you guys think about Knight and what he could potentially get?
This is one that I wanted locked up this offseason, if not directly behind the trade. Just for the fact that I think that the ability to get him on a better deal, if you had just acquired the player after, moving Seth Jones, I thought that they should have worked really hard to go and lock him up and say, we believe in you in the future. Not a long-term deal, maybe 3-4 years, but at least solidify that you've got your number one guy. I've said this before. I love Spencer Knight. I think he's the goalie of the future right now. If you're the Chicago Blackhawks, you're looking at this and you're projecting things 5 years out. So what's the harm in locking him up? And if he starts to fail, you do have guys like Drew Camasso and a couple other names in the system that can potentially come up and supplant him if you got him locked in on a good team-friendly deal early on in this. The longer you wait it out, as you pointed out, Steve, the more money he's going to command. And, some of that's just going to come with performance and, how this young defensive core looks in front of him as well. So there's a couple of things at play here. But I do think that Spencer Knight probably waits this out to try and get the most money. I'm worried that it becomes a term problem with Spencer Knight in getting this deal done. Because as you mentioned, Steve, and we've seen this in Blackhawks history before. Just because Antti Niemi won a Stanley Cup with the team, they didn't necessarily prioritize his contract over some other guys. So there is history here to say that, just because Spencer Knight looks like the guy for the next 5 years doesn't mean that he's going to be unless he's guaranteed that money. So I'm a little disappointed that this didn't get done this offseason or hasn't gotten done up until this point. So everything points to Spencer Knight riding out a contract year. Now, there's risks on both sides of that, not only from the Blackhawks, but also in Spencer Knight's camp. Got to put up a good season. You've got this young defensive core in front of you. What if your numbers regress a little bit from your time that you spent in Florida? So the back of your hockey card doesn't look as great as it did the year before. There's a lot of things that can go wrong on Spencer Knight's end too. So like I said, I'm just a little bit concerned that they didn't get this one done. It seemed like an obvious one on paper to me because I didn't think that he was otherworldly in the sense that he was going to command top dollar on the market. So if he does play himself into that could wind up, hurting what that payroll looks like that, GM Ron Luce gets to play with if he does go in and put up a huge season. So I would have really prioritized this one maybe over a Frank Nazar, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, getting both of the two parties to tango.
Most definitely. My dad says he agrees with you, Tony. I think that's an interesting take on it. I really do, because as we see, drawing parallels once again to the sport of baseball, the relievers are very volatile. And I think goalie is very similar in the NHL in that sense of, unless you're truly one of the elites, you're probably going to have a little bit of inconsistencies on the back of your hockey card, right? I think there is something to be said about, well, hey, you take the guaranteed money up front, right? Like that's kind of where that stands. You take the money up front. I think it's a little bit of what Frank Nazar did. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Some guys are very content with that model, and you see it across sports, right? Not everybody holds out for the top dollar all the time. But I do believe maybe even Spencer Knight's camp is like, hey, look, there was that term, there's the natural kind of shift of getting comfortable in your new setting and things like that. And goalies are creatures of habit. And a full year in Chicago, he's going to do great things again. And maybe they do believe they can get some good money out of it. I agree. I don't think he gets probably more than, I'll cap it at 5 years would be, I think, the longest the Hawks would go. I think that's just the goalie market nowadays, unless
because you are playing with Drew Camasso's camp there too. Like,
true.
You're sitting here telling, your top prospect in this rebuild, who everybody was expecting to come up and be the number one goalie. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to his agent and saying, we don't believe you as the number one goalie in this system. We're investing long-term in Spencer Knight. you might make it as a backup here. But then there is the Arvid Soderblom factor. There's the Guyon factor behind that as well. So if you're locking up Spencer, and this is why I wanted to do this now, give him 3 years so that you still have that carrot dangled over the rest of your prospect pipeline to, encourage them to want to ascend to the number 1 goaltending position.
And including in Spencer Knight too, right? There's enough of saying, hey, we're not investing in you fully long-term. You still got to earn it too. Go ahead, Steve. I know you got something as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because like you're bringing up all the names in the Blackhawks prospect pipeline for goalies. I'm fine with this problem. Like it's never a bad thing to have too many young goaltenders, and Guyon he's still a long ways away from even like looking like anything. So like I think this is a good problem to have, and like fuck, it's making me a little happy right now. So I'm for it.
Hey, depth is great. Depth is great. Sure. It looks a lot different than when we had Peter Mrazek and Arvid Soderblom, and then Drew Commesso being ways away from looking like anything. And I know there's still struggles there. Every, goaltenders take a long time to develop. But when you do have someone like Spencer Knight in the system now, it sort of changes the entire picture, because you can project this guy should be in the lineup for the next 2 or 3 years as our number 1 goaltender. And that takes a lot of pressure off of everybody else in the system.
Yeah,
so I agree with you, Steve.
Yeah, I do think that is going to be the most fascinating to watch, right? I think we all know what Connor Bedard's next contract probably looks like in some way, shape, and form. It's going to be interesting to see how the team approaches goaltending, because
I think some of this too, Ron, just to insert it in there, you did have the CBA get extended. They agreed to something about, what was it, a month ago? So a lot of camps, and I remember a headline when we talk about Connor Bedard. I remember a headline making its way around NHL circles last season where, Connor Bedard is being advised to wait until the CBA is ratified and everything is good and moving forward, because it's not smart to take a contract until you know what the salary cap looks like. Right. I thought that was going to be the signal, once that was done, that Kyle Davidson was going to go ahead and move forward with it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, though, maybe there's still an element, though, of Bedard's camp wanting to wait, because if he has a 90-point season or a 100-point season, God forbid, he's going to get Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl type money, because now we know what the cap is going to be, and it's going to ascend, right? They compared Frank Nazar. The expectation is his contract in the 27-28 season will be equivalent to what like $5.1 million was under the $88 million salary cap, which was largely consistent over the last like 5 or so years. That's a huge difference, right? Bedard's going to get crazy money, and maybe he takes the long-term deal and says, I want 8 years and lock me in at a big number. Or does he go the Austin Matthews route and say, I'll take a 4-year deal at X, knowing damn well I can get another massive contract in 4 years now that I know what the CBA looks like?
But you're going to have to sit through another year of Vancouver fans trying to stir up.
Then you just ignore
this narrative.
Fine.
This narrative that Connor Bedard is not going to sign. And I guarantee you, somewhere in like mid-January, Ron and Steve, you guys are going to get a text from me like, what if he fucking doesn't sign? Just to play devil's advocate. And, it's going to be a late night crisis. We're going to talk about it.
I don't even think you make it to January, Tony. I think I'm going to get that from you in November.
Probably. You probably will. When he's going through a 5-game pointless streak, and the camera cuts to him and the Hawks are still losing, and he's got his head down on the bench, and we're going to have to run the same articles that we did. Connor Bedard wants to stay in Chicago. Like it's just tiring. I want us to get to the point where you have Connor Bedard for the next X amount of years, and you can start to build that pipeline of like, here's when this team is going to compete. Like, I think we're all at that point, are we not?
But Bedard's he's putting out the feelers during this summer that he's here. Like he's been saying like on social media, in his exit interviews that Like, he loves Chicago and he wants to stay here. And yeah, sure, it kind of sounds like the Blackhawks PR department is telling him to say that, like, with a gun to his head. But like,
you know who is someone that didn't need a gun to their head to say they loved being in Chicago?
Who?
Patrick Kane.
Yeah, but that's a little bit too much of a fresh wound for me.
Yeah,
but
okay. I'm just telling you. Sometimes, even though they say things, it doesn't always work out.
You're right, but with
me.
Bedard, he's so young. Like, he's like, if anything, I think what Ron said with the short-term deal, I think that's probably more likely because, like, you know, it makes sense. If he looks really good, still go for the short-term. Like, he has Kyle Davidson by the balls with, like, whatever he wants, he's going to get. And if he wants a short-term deal where, like, the next few years, while he's still, like, kind of learning and for sure getting better every year, he's going to be worth a lot more than whatever long-term deal he gets. So, like, I think he's going to try to start really laying it into the fans that, like, hey, like, I love it here. I'm going to stay here. And he's going to have to really hold his composure, though, when the team is sucking next season and he's not, like, staring into the dark abyss because, yeah, I for sure can see people, like, pulling that stupid shit on Twitter and, like, you know, I'm going to get real upset. So I'm
not doing that. I never do that. When do I do that?
You might start.
No.
You're going to be the two sides of the bus meme. You're going to be the one sitting staring at the cliff.
You're giving me content.
You're welcome.
Right now. These are great ideas. Maybe I will. Maybe I will take that up. Maybe that'll be my thing this year.
You should do that. Stolit says here he wants Bedard to put on 30 pounds and start lifting weights.
Looks like he
looks a lot bigger. Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot out there.
His forearms are huge. It's insane. Like, the kid, like, the cameras don't do this kid justice. Like, he's 5'10", so he's going to look really small on camera. But, like, these athletes, when, like, they're small and they're built, like, it's not something that's going to show up well on the screen. So I think Bedard's he's gonna impress people next year.
I think so too. It's gonna be fun to watch, and that's certainly something we'll have to monitor. But while we're on the topic of contracts, and as Stoller brought up a little bit earlier, says all the Blackhawks goalies of the future aren't ready to step in that quickly. Need the 3-year runway with potentially Knight locked up. Well, the Blackhawks locked up one of their goaltenders this offseason, gentlemen, and that was Arvid Soderblom. A 2-year deal. They avoid arbitration. They did file for it. They could have gone to ARB. So Philip Kurashev remains the only player in the Kyle Davidson area to go to arbitration with the Blackhawks. 2 years, $275 per season is Soderblom's cap hit. Gentlemen, this sounds like backup money to me. And also, yeah, look at that. That's bonkers, by the way.
Yeah, just had to throw that up there. Sorry for the distraction.
No, it's okay. If there's anybody that knows how to distract Rollins, it's you, my friend.
You're welcome.
Soderblom, though, is now locked in as your backup goaltender for the next 2 seasons. Tony, I want to hear from you first here, Mr. Goalie Guy. What are you thinking with the Soderblom 2-year deal?
You know, you threw me on the spot. I was trying to figure out how to remove Connor Bedard from this conversation, but you know, I think there you go, Ron. Thank you. On the Soderblom deal, I'm not mad at this. The real factor in this is what is Laurent Brossoit and what is his purpose at this point? You know, I feel like we talked a little bit about this one, Steve, you and I on a previous show too with Soderblom. Maybe it was before he actually officially signed, but it just sounds like bad news for Laurent Brossoit if you're locking up Arvid Soderblom on a 2-year instead of a 1-year contract here. You know, I think Soderblom earned it. I know many fans don't think that last year was great. I forget what I gave him in our player grades, but I'm pretty sure I was pretty friendly to Arvid Soderblom in the player grades. I thought he had a really good bounce back year, all things considered. There were many times last season where I didn't have to pull out the Swiss cheese meme while I was running the Four Feathers podcast account because we were in games. And, you know, that's sign of growth to me from the goaltender perspective. not as many really bad starts. He still had his struggles, but this isn't something that's going to kill the Hawks. It's not extremely long term. It's just, hey, we need a solid backup around somebody that can keep the Blackhawks in games. He did that last year, so you earn that contract and keep moving forward. If he starts to perform well, I think he's the kind of guy that you could potentially flip to another team or a contender if you're not contending at the end of this year and be like, here's a guy that could, potentially help you maintain your number one goaltender's health down the stretch. And he's got an extra year of control, which makes him a little more valuable. But that's to be seen. If he's here and rides out that 2-year deal and you get nothing from him outside of just backing up Spencer Knight and he walks into free agency, I don't think anybody's breaking a sweat over that. So to me, this is just, the course of doing business, and Arvid Soderblom's here, and people are going to have to deal with the fact that Spencer Knight can't start every game this season.
100%. Still, it says here, if Laurent was healthy, Arvid would get the boot. And I think that's part of this, right?
I agree.
Arvid Soderblom earned his opportunity. He had a really good season in wake of no Laurent Brossoit, in the wake of Peter Mrazek having a down year. And before they acquired Spencer Knight, he was kind of the guy, and he showed that he could keep them in games, and he earned his 2-year deal. And I think good on him. I think, like you said, worst case scenario, it's backup money, and he's a competent backup for 2 years. And maybe he plays well enough where he gets a bag in free agency in 2 years and is a huge piece, and good for him if that's the case. But like you said, Tone, Spencer Knight can't play and shouldn't play 80, 60 games a year, even in today's NHL. If these guys can do almost a 50 to 32 split, I think that's a healthy spot to be. And Arvid Soderblom showed he can at least keep you in games. Steve, your thoughts on this contract? Anything? Do you hate it or do you love it?
I don't really hate it or love it. I think it's fine. And I just looked up our player grades. Me and Tony both gave Soderblom a B, and then Ron, you gave him a B minus.
Yeah.
But I think it's fine. Through his first 16 games last year, he looked really good. He actually had a 909 save percentage, and then the second half of the season was pretty ugly for him. It bumped down his total save percentage to an 898. So, but I really liked what I saw when he was good. He made some incredible saves, and considering that the Blackhawks defense really tested him, he did pull through. So I do get where some fans like Stolp Breezing saying where if Laurent Brossoit was healthy, like you'd rather have him. I understand that. He's still 32 years old, which isn't old for a goalie. I still would take Soderblom if Brossoit was good. Just because he's younger. I think Laurent Brossoit is at this point, I don't know how he's going to act if he gets, goes back in the net. So I don't know. I mean, at this point, like, does he go to Rockford at all? If he's healthy, does Kyle Davidson send him down to Rockford, and then he would have to clear waivers, which, I mean, that would kind of make it a little easier if somebody picks him up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad with Soderblom's deal.
Yeah, I think that's truly a fair way to look at it, and it's fine. I think that's a great way to put it. It's fine. It's whelming. That's Steve's word of the show. I think that's a fair take when it's all said and done. You know what isn't whelming?
When Steve takes a shot at Malort.
Ooh,
that's not whelming.
That's true. I feel like that's a good time for our scheduled programming. We're at about the 35-minute.
Kind of just pulling the teeth out. So I was gonna try to do a little surprise one, but I can't back down.
Well, he was talking about whelming stuff. Oh, man.
Oh, straight out of the bottle. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's not fun. Oh, man.
Do you taste the Chicago, Steve?
Yeah, it tastes like licking Lower Wacker Drive. That's what it tastes like.
That's incredible. Man.
That wasn't whelming. That was great.
No, that was exhilarating. Couple of quick just comments here as we move this thing along. Some nice deal promotions from people for Nazar. Lebowski jumping in here says, with this Nazar contract, he thinks the Hawks ultimately see Nazar as the fourth best forward when they are contending. Certainly, I think something we can come back to here. And Sonny, good to see you, sir. 47 days until puck drop from him. Gentlemen, speaking of puck drop and speaking of schedules and all that good shit, the Blackhawks announced their promotional schedule. Steve's going through one down there.
It's bad.
Just I peered down for a hot half a second and just you looked in pain and anguish as we get to the, and it's not over the promotional schedules because it's a good promotional schedule. A lot of bobblehead nights this year, of course, promotional nights as well. A couple of key dates for you guys here. These are all the bobblehead dates because I know that's what people are most excited about. October 17th against Vancouver is the Stan Mikita bobblehead. November 15th versus Toronto will be Tony Esposito. On November 23rd versus Colorado, that'll be Dennis Savard. On 12/13, that's, I believe, Friday night hockey, if I'm correct. It's either Friday or Saturday night hockey against the Red Wings. It's Chris Chelios in the black jerseys bobblehead. That one's pretty sick. And then as you turn to January 4th is Brent Seabrook bobblehead. Very excited personally about that one. And then in January on the 17th against Boston, it'll be Duncan Keith. And the final one of the season is March 6th against Vancouver. It's the Tommy Hawk bobblehead. So again, no Patrick Kane, no Jonathan Taves. Those guys aren't retired yet. They can't make bobbleheads of them. Marian Hossa not a part of this. I think that's a little interesting, personally.
They did do a Marian Hossa bobblehead a few years ago.
Okay, so maybe
when they were doing, I think it was the 2013 10-year anniversary in 2023. I believe they did do Marian Hossa, Patrick Kane, and Jonathan Taves.
Okay,
I remember correctly.
Fair enough. You have a better thought than I do, so thank you for that.
It could have been 2020 10-year. I'm not sure if it was 23 or 2010, but I do know that I have one of the Marian Hossa bobbleheads, which I'm sad to say it doesn't look exactly like Marian Hossa, but
it was the 2010 anniversary. I just looked it up.
Okay. Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that some of that was in play when they were selecting, although they have done a Seabrook bobblehead before.
They have. So some repeats, some new ones. I think it's great. Also, other dates included. These are just some of the highlights. There's a ton of stuff. Encourage everybody shamelessly go over to ontapsportsnet.com and check out the article there that highlights all of that. And of course, the original schedule is there, and you can kind of look date by date. But others coming up: Pride Night, Hockey Fights Cancer, St. Patrick's Day. They actually play at the UC on St. Patrick's Day this year. It's not like 3 days before like it normally is. Native American Heritage, Military Appreciation, and so much more. A lot of gate giveaways that haven't totally been announced yet, so might be some cool stuff, maybe scarves if it's that time of the year, hats, things like that. That could still be a part of this as well. Gentlemen, I know that's not necessarily something of high opinion, but I do want to offer to both of you any thoughts on the promotional schedule, maybe a date you're looking forward to the most. What you think?
I'm curious, Ron, because I've been having a little bit of a crisis over here. Normally, I'm not sure when it comes, but we've been season ticket holders or partial season ticket holders for the same amount of time. I haven't gotten the email yet to select whether or not I want Blackhawks points or guaranteed giveaway box. Because for the last few seasons, and I know that this is, probably a topic of only anybody who's a season ticket holder would appreciate. The last few years, the giveaways have been not something that have really been something to talk about. And I feel like this is the first year where you actually have all of these bobbleheads. I don't even think there was a single bobblehead last season. I moved from the guaranteed giveaway box to the Blackhawks points because I'll take, I think it was like $100 credit and one guaranteed giveaway box instead of getting two giveaway boxes. But I haven't heard them reach out yet to say that there's even a guaranteed giveaway box. Are they taking that away from the season ticket holders? I think that's an interesting question, unless you probably manage your emails better than I do. But up until this point, I haven't seen the select your perk as a season ticket holder so far.
I haven't either. This is just my kind of opinion and 2 cents of what I think is going to happen with that. I think because it's such a hefty one, I think they're still going to do it. I think maybe though they would only limit it to like one giveaway box per set of tickets. I could see that happening. Just because it is a loaded year. Like there's a ton of bobbleheads. There's going to be a bunch of other stuff too. They might just say, hey, look, we understand that in the last couple of years, you may have had 4. Maybe they do 1 for every 2 seats you have. Maybe if you have 4 seats, you can get 2 boxes, and then you get the points for the other seats. I think that is a win-win. You would probably agree with that, Tony. You had that last year. I think that's where I could see it going, and maybe they're just managing the logistics of that. Tony, I think you, like myself, are frantically double-checking when that came out from last year. And as I'm checking it,
because I was like seriously worried that I missed it.
No, I haven't.
I would have expected my rep to call and say, "Hey,
I
you
haven't
need to
seen
make a selection."
either.
I haven't seen it. When did it come out last season?
But I do think
exactly what I'm looking for.
I think they'll keep it. The only reason I know that I say that is because if I remember correctly, I've met enough Cubs season ticket holders that have said, like, even when the Cubs have like 7 bobblehead giveaways over the course of the year, they still get the like giveaway box. Like that's a thing still. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. It might just be because they haven't had this many. Maybe some of it's just figuring out how they're going to ship everything. There might be some logistical to it too, because everything fit in one box historically. Now you would probably need like 2 boxes per giveaway box in order to incorporate everything, maybe even 3. I mean, it's going to be a loaded year in terms of gate giveaway. So again, encouraging people to go check that out. Steve, any thoughts of your own?
Yeah, if I were to make it out to a game, I think the only one that would be close is the January 4th game against Vegas for the Seabrook bobblehead. Just because I'll be home for Christmas around then. If I had to pick anyone to go to, I would go against Detroit to get a Chelios bobblehead. I think that'd be pretty cool. But one thing, I guess, like kind of similar on this topic is some of the discussion over the jerseys, specifically the black jersey. I don't know. I know they were talking about having it come out this season, and then I think on CHGO they said, or Jamie Faulkner, she said that it's going to get pushed to next season. I would have really loved to see the Blackhawks main Centennial jersey to be black with that gold trim. I think that would have looked really nice. I love the Centennial jersey. I like how it looks. But I mean, at the same time too, like, I don't see why not. You could just unload as many jerseys as you can. I don't think that's overwhelming the fans. To me, from a business standpoint, I think it makes sense for them to roll out the jerseys slower because they can profit off of it. Because, like, I didn't buy a Centennial jersey because I thought they were going to come out with the black ones. So, like, I mean, if they were out, that's what I would have done. But I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Is it an issue? Is it a non-issue? Are people overreacting to it?
I think it's sort of a non-issue, although, like, I'm clamoring for the black jerseys. I do believe they will come back in due time. I believe they will. Although, I think you sort of hit the nail on the head with this. You look at, last season they had the Winter Classic jersey. They were able to roll that out, profit off of that one. You do the Centennial jersey this season. That's the new hot ticket item. And then maybe whether it's next year or 2 years down the road, then you roll out the black jersey. I think part of the issue is also just, fanatics and some of the rules around how many jerseys you can wear in a typical season too. So I'm not exactly sure what the rules and regulations are in terms of NHL and how many jerseys you can have, but I think like the max is probably 3, maybe 4. So I don't think the Hawks are up against that, but it seems maybe as if it's more money driven, or maybe just a capacity issue at Fanatics. Maybe it's not exactly the most well run company when it comes to putting together products. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
I think there's some validity to having a unique Centennial jersey that doesn't have the black, and then having the black come next year as like another thing to get excited about. I'm excited for them regardless. I think they're the best jerseys that they've probably ever had. I know that's going to be a hot take and people don't like it because black's lazy and blah, blah, blah. They're the Blackhawks. Fuck off. All right. I can't help you if you don't like them. But I have a Patrick Kane black one, and it's arguably one of my favorite jerseys that I own. So very, very excited for
I don't see you in that one often enough, Ronald.
Because it's not currently at my house.
Oh.
It is currently at Papa Luce's house and Mama Luce's house. So I have to go get that one from over there. But I've worn that one pretty frequently, just not recently to the United Center, but that one's a favorite to don as we get there.
Please bust that out next season.
I will. I most definitely will. Speaking of busting things out next season, buying tickets to a game, Steve, go to the 4th. Tony and I have tickets to that game. I think that'd be a great way to celebrate the new year. A little Four Feathers meetup could be a lot of fun. So
I shall plan it. It sounds like a great idea.
I agree. I think it sounds like a great idea.
I love when a plan comes together on the air. Yes, definitely buy tickets to that game, and maybe we'll do like a nice little Four Feathers meetup prior or after.
Or both.
Or both.
I think both. I think both is in the cards. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Gentlemen, I'm excited about that Seabrook game because I think it's the only one on the schedule that I actually have tickets to that I'll be able to attend. And Brent Seabrook was actually one of my favorite players when he was here. And it was the one that I guess I didn't publicly talk about a lot, but in hindsight, I'm like, how can you not love Siebes? And that's a fun bobblehead to have. Stolen says here he's going to opening night against the Canadians. Awesome. Also considering the Maple Leafs Esposito night too. Sick. Love.
We've got tickets to that one too as well, Ron.
Maple Leafs?
I believe we do.
Oh, do we? Oh,
I think so. I'll confirm. I'll work to confirm.
We'll have to wait and see how that one goes. Rescue Rob here says he can't wait to see Nazar and Renzel on some PK breakouts. Speaking of, shameless plug, Sam Renzel, player grade article coming out on tomorrow's Friday. So that'll be a good one. My dad is excited about the military night. That should be a lot of fun. And still it says here, typically 3 sets of home and away jerseys this season. So I think they're holding off for the reasons that we said. So I think it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a busy year of Blackhawks giveaways. So that's always cool because I love the Blackhawks giveaways. I have so many of the bobbleheads because they're outstanding. They've always been outstanding. I think that's one thing the Hawks have always done well is good giveaways. So good to see that back. And Adam, gentlemen, we've talked a lot about contracts in this show outside of our promotional schedule talk. Of course, we talked about Frank Nazar's extension.
Confirmed, we do have opening night against the Canadians on the 11th.
Okay. I haven't looked, admittedly, and I got to sort all that out myself. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
We'll be there. We'll force Ron.
We'll see. But on the Terp, because I'm not under a contract to attend that game. We've talked a lot about other contracts. What about a contract that hasn't been signed yet? And even Lebowski brought it up in the comment section. Don't you worry, sir. It was on our agenda for tonight. When are the Hawks going to sign Wyatt Kaiser? Now, there's been a lot of opinions about Kaiser. Some people think he's the next coming of Bobby Orr. Others think you need to pump the brakes and you're a bunch of morons if you think he's any good. There's a lot of commentary out there in the world about Wyatt Kaiser. I'm at the point right now, I just wonder when he's going to sign because we're going to start talking about the Tom Curvers here in short order and not too long from now. And training camp's going to open in September. When's he going to be under contract? Is he going to be under contract? Could he be moved elsewhere? What is Wyatt Kaiser's future in the next, 6 to 8 weeks here with the Blackhawks season looming? Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
I think he gets signed very soon. I think we're going to see it just kind of like out of nowhere today. Nazar's contract surprised me. I think maybe in this coming up week we see something with Kaiser. And for as far as what he'll sign for, I can't remember. I think Ron, you said a 2-year, $4 million deal. I might be wrong.
I think it was 2 by 2.3, I think was the number I said.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds more realistic. I'm going to go with 3 years at 2 flat. I think that's I think I wouldn't be surprised if I saw that. Now, as far as some of the people who are saying like if they're too high on Kaiser or if they're too down on him, for Kaiser, I think he's kind of somewhere in the middle of that. I know there's a lot of people who are very impressed, including myself, last year when he, I think it was like the third time he came back up to the Blackhawks. I thought he looked good. He looked confident. I liked his reads. But at the same time, when he played his best hockey last season, that was towards the end when a lot of the teams that are good are kind of easing off on the gas pedal a little bit. But I still think he's a solid player. I don't hate him at all. I like him. And I was somebody who was not very high on him to begin last season. But my mind has kind of changed on that. But I'm not by any means thinking he's like the, I don't know, second coming of Bobby Orr. But yeah, I think he's a good player to have.
I enjoyed watching Kaiser play this season. And Ron, admittedly, you were much more high on the upside of Wyatt Kaiser, I think, heading into last season and just since Kaiser's been part of the system. So pleasant surprise. I think he's really grown right in front of our eyes in terms of, being a responsible NHL defenseman. There's, again, growing pains. I'm not going to sit here and say everything was perfect. Each and every single one of these prospects has flaws in their game, but I thought that he looked excellent last season. Just absolutely excellent. Trusted him when he was on the ice most of the time. And I'm surprised the deal isn't done yet. I actually wrote about this over on ontapsportsnet.com. Shameless plug. But I threw that into the comments for everybody. Tab Babford over at Bleacher Nation also talked a little bit about this. He wrote an article. It's linked in there. But his quote on this is, since I brought him up, what's keeping the Blackhawks from getting a deal done with Kaiser? If they had identified him as a potential top 4 guy, he should have been a priority RFA this summer. And the Blackhawks aren't trying to find/create cap space to make it fit. That's a little bit of a red flag to me in terms of what they view Wyatt Kaiser as. And I have to start to think, okay, we've talked about this on the show. There is a plethora of defensive young guys in this system right now that they have to fit into a roster. And we talked about, is Kevin Korchinski going to be the guy? You've got Artem Levshinov, who came up and showed what he has last season. I think that there's some unrefined skills there. A ton of potential, but also some question marks that some people have brought up. Wyatt Kaiser, also another name that people have sort of, you look at his metrics, and who was it that just threw this in here? Lebowski. He had the best defensive metrics of all defensemen on the team last year. So, there's that. And then, I saw another take, I believe it was this morning out there, that somebody said Wyatt Kaiser looks completely lost. So I don't know if the Blackhawks are seeing what we're seeing or they're seeing what other people are seeing. It seems sort of polarizing when it comes to evaluating Wyatt Kaiser and what the long-term status is, but I really enjoyed watching him play last season. He was one of, if not my favorite defenseman to watch on the team last year. So I don't know what's preventing them from getting a deal done. Maybe there's something that I'm not seeing, Ron, from a cap perspective. This should have been done already. Again, just like sort of the Spencer Knight talk that we had just a little bit ago. I felt like this was one of those checklist items that needed to get done, and I'm surprised that we're talking tonight because Frank Nazar signed before Wyatt Kaiser.
Yeah, I think that's a fair approach. To me, I see the Blackhawks looking at this a little differently than the Nazar thing, because I thought there was a lot that they liked clearly with Nazar, and like it really took off. I think with Kaiser, they started to see the improvements, and I bet you he's the guy they want to do a bridge deal with. And there's an impasse on the number. I wouldn't be surprised if Kaiser's maybe asking for 3.5, 3.75, something in that neighborhood. And
the Blackhawks the kind of guy that could have gotten offer sheeted though, if people
because
high on him.
Teams don't want to give the cap space away for what's considered a very deep draft next year. And that's why I don't think you saw a lot of offer sheets. Elliot Friedman spoke about it a lot early in the summer that teams were wary of giving offer sheets because if it required a first-round pick in terms of capital to get that RFA, they felt like they weren't going to have a chance in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes if things went bad. Everybody wants that lottery ticket in 26, and it's a deep draft. I think a lot of teams are a little weary about offer sheets this year. I think in years where it's a really, maybe not a really weak class, but a weaker class, we'll see more offer sheets happen. And again, maybe they get matched, but I think we'll start to see that more down the road. I think this is just a number thing. I think they're probably okay with term. 2 to 3 years, I think, is realistic. But each party wants different numbers. And I bet you the Hawks are sitting there and saying, like, hey, dude, you did just turn 23. Like, we think you're going to get better, but we want to see you continue to prove that. And we're banking, if he's like, well, you just inked Nazar. Well, yeah, Nazar was a first-round pick. You were a third-round pick, and you came in a little late in college, and you had to go through some growing pains in the AHL to get to where you are now.
There's also a little bit of a difference when it comes to defensemen and forwards in terms of contract and value, what you provide. So that's my question here is, where do you think, not where you rank him, but where do you think the Blackhawks currently rank him amongst their current defenseman crop?
I think they see him as a third pairing defenseman. And that was something I wanted to kind of touch on. I think a big reason why his numbers were probably the best on the team. A, he didn't have a huge sample size. He shuttled between Rockford and Chicago. And B, he played a lot of third pairing minutes. So you're going to get a little bit better matchup sometimes, especially at home when you're on the third pairing. That could be part of it. And I think that's where the Blackhawks are sitting. Like, hey, guys.
So do you think he was shielded last year? I guess that's like,
I don't know. I don't think shield's the term. I think it's they've found where they believe his ideal role is. And that says, hey, you're a really solid third pair defenseman that can bring some offensive upside that we would like to see. And you're a solid puck mover, and we like puck movers. Like, you can tell that's what they want on their blue line. That's what they're accumulating in terms of prospect capital. I just think it's a role thing. I think the Blackhawks see him as a third pairing defenseman, and maybe Kaiser sees himself as more, and that's where that impasse comes with dollars and cents. I really do believe he's a really good third pairing defenseman, could play on your second pairing if you needed him to. That's where I think they see him, and they want to see more development. I think that's where the impasse is with that number.
And to bounce off of Lebowski's point, he did have the best goals against rate for anybody on the team. And he was third highest on shots blocked per 60 minutes. So, and that's kind of like the whole eye test versus numbers thing. I think when you watch Kaiser, it matches what the numbers are. And it's really hard for defensemen to quantify through stats like how good they are, just because it's different, at least for defensively. And I know with Kaiser, a lot of his potential upside is slightly on offense. But if you're watching him and you just focus on him in the defensive zone, he looks better, or he's gotten better. Kind of like what Stolabrizing is saying is like his decision-making improved. And that's really evident on the breakouts, where I think that was one of the struggling points, and actually something that I think got him sent down to Rockford, where he completely bobbled a retrieval in the defensive zone, turned the puck over, and actually got scored on. He's improved through that. And it's hard for these kids, right? 23 is still young. And we haven't seen a consistent entire season. So there are some doubts, and maybe for Kyle Davidson, this isn't one of his guys that he drafted. And we know that Kyle Davidson really likes his guys. Like, this is a Stan Bowman guy. So who knows? Maybe that's kind of playing into his hesitancy too. But at the same time, I think some of our best current defenders, like Alex Vlasic, and I don't want to say he's a great defender, but Louis Crevier, like those were Bowman picks as well. As much
Big
as I hate to say, Big Lou. So yeah, there's some hesitancy, but I think Kaiser is a solid. At the height, he could be a number 3 defenseman or a number 4 defenseman. But we'll see.
Lots of we'll sees with Wyatt Kaiser's future indeed. One or two quick last ones here. Lebowski saying, and that was all at 22 years old, backing up your stats there that you read off, Steve. In addition, Stolit saying here, he says the 4 long-term, Korchinski, Levshunov, Vlasic, Renzel, Kaiser's still around playing significant time, means one of the 3 didn't pan out. Hot take, one of those 4 is not going to pan out.
I was gonna say that's not even a hot take. That should just be accepted as a reality at this point.
That's just playing numbers.
Yeah, there's no way. So, I mean, that's
where there's not no way, but it's highly unlikely.
It is highly unlikely. You would be really happy if all of them panned out, because that would mean if all of these guys pan out, you don't have to go to the free agent market to figure some shit out at the end of this to put it all together. And that's what, fans are already sort of in that space. We're like, oh, why weren't we so active in free agency and whatnot? And, they have the opportunity for these guys to pan out. You got to play them and see who shows up. You're only as good as your last envelope.
Definitely. And also another just super side note. This is not for, this is something that probably will be a topic of our next show, whenever that is. I still think there's a chance they sign a depth veteran too, that we talked about earlier in this summer that hasn't been done yet. So I think they're sifting some things out here. Don't be surprised if things pick up a little bit as training camp gets a little closer. I think teams are going to try to make some last minute things before camps open and the season really starts to get into swing. Speaking of getting into swing, we're getting back in our swing. It's been about a month since we've been on the mics, and we'll continue to ramp up as training camp gets closer. So in likely order, we need to practice ourselves. How about we practice ruffling some feathers, gentlemen, as we always do here on the show? Tony, I want to give you the floor first. Do you have any feathers to ruffle, or is it just Steve and I tonight?
I think you guys can go. If something comes to mind, we'll get there. I do have a stick tap, but I don't have a ruffling of feathers right now. I feel like I ruffled a lot of feathers with the Rick Hahn and Kyle Davidson comparisons earlier today, and I don't think that we need to rehash this. The only thing I will say in this space of time that you are giving me, before we started recording, you said this is going to be a short show, but we'll figure out how to make it an hour, and we have figured out a way to make it an hour. So thank you to everybody who's still with us after the hour mark. I'll turn it over to Steve, and Steve can ruffle some feathers because I think this one's pretty spicy.
Well said, Don. Go ahead.
We'll see. I think for Blackhawks fans, they'll probably agree with me. So the only ruffling of the feathers is going to go up to French Canada, specifically Montreal. So with Frank Nazar, as everybody knows, it's kind of like the trade-off where we got rid of Kirby Dach, and then with the 13th overall pick, we selected Nazar. And it's kind of interesting to see how that's turning out, where it looks like we might have our number 2 center, and Kirby Dach is still probably, hopefully, recovered from the hospital or wherever he's been. But on Twitter, I saw one of those JFresh cards that I actually use a lot in my articles. And Nazar's, just like every other Chicago Blackhawks, doesn't look good. He's got if you don't know what it is, it's basically just percentile rankings, and it's a whole lot of red and pink, which isn't good. But context is everything, and especially when you're looking at these percentile rankings where it doesn't really tell you specifically which stats. You're just looking at overall, what is he ranking and stacking against the entire NHL, especially considering that he's been playing on an ass team. So, of course, with a percentile ranking of 47%, which is pretty bad, it's below than half of the league, a Montreal Canadiens fan reposted it and basically said he's terrible. That's a pretty strong statement for one, a really young kid to say that he's terrible, going off of, like, I don't want to say vague, but kind of vague numbers, right? If you're just looking at the numbers for any player, you're not going to get the full picture. And it really upsets me too with Frank Nazar, because I think he's kind of gotten some I don't know, a little bit of strays, I guess, like on The Athletic, like when he first was kind of popping up, he wasn't ranked anywhere in the Blackhawks top prospects. And I know that drew the wrath of a lot of Blackhawks fans. And I was angry too, because like, if you see what the kid looks like on the ice, like he looks good. So I don't know, it pisses me off when I see this kind of stuff. I know it's going to happen next year, especially like Sam Renzel. He's going to go through a period where he has growing pains. And I already know there's going to be people on Twitter saying the dumbest shit that's going to piss me off. And then I'm just going to be chugging Malorts and starting Twitter wars. So I don't know. Just look at the entire picture of the player. Context is everything. Don't trust the numbers if they look bad, or even if they look great. Just know your shit.
Two things in response to what you said. Number one, that Canadiens fan is probably pretty pissed off that Frank Nazar might go on a run in the Olympics. And so, there's some context to be had there. Number two, you might be due for another Malort shot.
No, I'm good. I couldn't even find the mute button to unmute myself. I'm good. I'm good.
Respect to that. I'll tell you what, too. I think with the whole Canadiens thing, I agree. Sample size is everything. Also, I'm convinced Stan Bowman ruined Kirby Dach. Poor guy. Because I felt good predicting that pick.
Did Stan Bowman ruin Kirby Dach, or did Jeremy Colleton ruin Kirby
See,
Dach?
all of the above. I think that's a good answer. But to friend of the program here.
Is he the Canadiens fan that was saying this shit?
No.
Frank Nazar? No,
he's a Flames.
He might know the guy.
Yeah, he might know the guy, but no, he's a Flames fan. Has a lot of friends that are Canadiens fans, though. But he says Chicago 110% won the Dach trade, and I think that's only going to continue to insinuate. So, way to ruffle some feathers here, Steve. I think you're in mid-season form. Mine's probably not going to really ruffle anybody's feathers, but I'm going to puff out my own feathers, and that is
You're going to ruffle and puff yourself?
Yeah, I'm going to ruffle and puff myself. I don't know how that sounds very off the board, but I called the big splash of the offseason in the sense that it was going to be an internal signing. It was going to be an extension that really drew the fans. And it was. Frank Nazar really is the biggest move that's happened this summer for the Blackhawks contractually, outside of perhaps Ryan Donato and them using the third overall pick on Anton Frondel. I would say that's the top headline really that we've seen so far. Neither here nor there. Again, like I said, it's not really to ruffle anybody's other's feathers other than my own, because I'm just going to puff out my chest and say I called that one. Because when we say good, smart things here at Four Feathers Podcast, I think it deserves love, and that goes for all of us. We've had some pretty great takes over the years and over the recent weeks about this summer, gentlemen. Rather than Ron Stradamus. Hey, Ron Stradamus lives strong in the world of On Tap. Let me tell you, there's been some good ones. Stick taps all around. Some good stuff that's been going on. Steve, I want to give you the floor first this time. Who's your stick taps go out to?
It's going to go out to a new member of the On Tap Sportsnet team, the Blackhawks Cowboy. He's been posting some great content over on Twitter, his YouTube channel. And now he's going to be doing some content creating for On Tap Sports. So I'm excited to work with him. I've talked with him. He's a real cool guy, knows his shit. So I'm excited to see what he'll bring during the regular seasons and soon. So I'm excited.
Yeah, acquisition news for On Tap Sportsnet, and great call out, Steve, there. Blackhawks Cowboy joining the squad. I'm excited to work with him as well, and I'm sure he'll be on these airwaves a couple, 2-3 times throughout the season, and excited to have him on board. We also try and make some free agency splashes here on the show, and that was a good one. I'm going to piggyback off of that, Ronald, and I'm going to turn the floor to you. We're also expanding some hockey coverage in the Chicagoland area here at On Tap Sportsnet, and it's an area that we had previously covered. Ron actually spearheaded this initiative a couple of years ago when we were first getting off of the ground. But Ron, I think it's the appropriate time to give this a stick tap. I know it's not on the agenda, but since you were the one that put this together, why don't you give the proper accolades and time to stick tap this initiative that you put together here?
Yeah, man, I'm so stoked that this came together. For those that have been hanging around Four Feathers since 2018, 2019, pretty much upon our establishment in the good old days, the days before COVID hockey, we'll call it, we had Chicago Wolves coverage. It was something that I was doing as well. I loved it, and I got to meet a lot of really cool people that I'm still in touch with to this day that were on the beat for either other teams in the AHL Central Division or also covered the Wolves in some capacity. And we're lucky enough to bring on one of those people as our new Wolves beat. Andrew Rinaldi has covered the Wolves extensively, also covers the Grand Rapids Griffins. He unfortunately became a free agent, not for bad reasons, just for unfortunate reasons in the world of content creation and sports writing. He became a free agent on the Wolves side of the house, and he's graciously decided to join On Tap Sportsnet to reignite our Wolves coverage. So very excited about Andrew Naldi joining the team. So Blackhawks fans, if you like following the Wolves, even in a casual capacity, or you like minor league hockey in general, go give our friend Andrew a follow. He does an incredible job covering the team. And surely we'll probably hear from him at some point on this Four Feathers show, whether that's maybe when the Hawks take on the Carolina Hurricanes, or if we have some cross collaboration talk between the Ice Hogs and Wolves, obviously with the in-state rivalry. We'll be due for some good stuff. So very, very excited about that. And Andrew Rinaldi's addition to the team. Tony, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and share my stick tap.
I'm just gonna promo Andrew's X account so people can go follow him. That's at Andrew_Rinaldi, and then an underscore trailing that. We're excited to have Chicago Wolves credentialed coverage here at On Tap Sportsnet. And Ron, thank you for sharing that with everyone. Maybe working on some Ice Hog stuff too. We'll use the big eyeball. We'll see what happens. But
the big
if you're out there, if you're out there and interested in covering the Rockford Ice Hawks, get in touch. See what happens. Ron, your turn to give out some stick taps.
Sure, man. Yeah, I agree. Get in touch indeed. Also, be sure to follow Blackhawks Cowboy. Again, new member of the Four Feathers team. A lot of good stuff happening over here at Four Feathers. As Tony said, we're trying to make our own off-season editions as well. Tony, I'm going to give stick taps to the two lead parties of today's extension and reason why we're on these great airwaves. Kyle Davidson and Frank Nazar getting a phenomenal deal done for, I think, both sides. Nazar locks in at guaranteed money at a young age, and that's awesome, and you never know what happens. And he's got his bag, as Connor Bedard, I believe, directly quoted. He's rich. And Kyle Davidson gets a player that, if this pans out, that's going to be a heavy discount when this team is hopefully competitive and going after playoff appearances in the not so distant future. So I think this was a great move all around. Really, really happy with how things went today. It's cool to see one of those guys, I think, get done. I think we'll end up having to wait on the other two, but it was good to see one of those get done and give us something to talk about in the middle of the summer, the dog days of August here in Blackhawks hockey. Tony, I appropriately give you the floor, sir, because we're about to go a little bit off the rails here with your stick tap.
We are about to go a little bit off the rails, but we previewed this at the top of the show, and we talked a little bit about some golf that was recently played over at Ron Luce's bachelor party at the beginning of the month. I wish we videotaped some of this because we would have been able to put together a highlight package of Tony and Ron's golf course experience. It would have been epic, but there's only our memories, Ron, to recount this story. So we were in the midst of
That's not entirely true. It's not just memories.
There is something to commemorate this. I'll have you pull it out here in just a second. There it is. There's the trophy. Ronald and I won a trophy doing some golf activities. What is it? The 4 loose screws scramble. It was fantastic. Right. It was fantastic. Ron's bachelor party, the 4 loose screws scramble. We had a bit of a challenging time through our 18 holes of golf, but everything really came together, and the teamwork that was exemplified, I think, on the 18th hole, Ron, is why I love working with you, and that's why you are my stick tap, because you picked me up when I was down, and I picked you up when you were down on this hole. So I'm going to let you tell the story, Ronald, of the 18th hole of the 4 loose screw scramble.
The 18th hole was pretty fun. Quick shout outs to my cousin Eric Nelson and a good friend of the program and one of my near and dear friends, Mr. Brendan Duvall. They were the other 2 members of our foursome. It was a blast. A big shout out to everybody that attended, because that was quite the weekend, and wish more people could have attended. Truly, we ended up having an incredible time. Steve, you included as well, my friend. But yeah, man, you hit a bomb drive on the 18th.
There's some arguments that are about this drive. I mean, before we got on the show, you said it went 300 yards. I don't know if it went 300 yards.
I think it went 300 yards.
It was a nice drive.
Was set us up well. We were able to see the green. Everybody else, we were the last tee time, so we came in and everybody was lined up watching on the 18th hole. Perhaps hit the chip of my life, put it within about 6 feet or so of the pin, and you hit a hell of a putt to cap off a big birdie and capture our victory with a 2 over. Not too shabby, if I do say so myself. It was a tough course. It was a lot of fun. Hotter than hell that day, but we powered through and we made it work. Shout out that hot dog guy too. He was a real legend.
The hot dog guy came in clutch for you guys. The beers at the turn came in clutch for me. I don't think you had a sip of alcohol on that course.
Only water and Gatorade, baby. Water and Gatorade.
Impressive.
Unbelievable.
It was, Steve, let me tell you why. Because as everybody knows here at On Tap Sportsnet, we hashtag crack 'em, and we hashtag crack 'em hard. I went way too hard on Thursday night, the first night we were there. Absolutely way too hard. Did not get to sleep till 3 o'clock in the morning. We had to be up at 7:30.
It was one of the only times in my life where Ron was texting me as I was trying to fall asleep, because they were already at the house out in Indiana. And I had to wake up the next morning to make a 9:30 tee time, which for most people would be fine. You know, it's about an hour and 15-minute drive. But for me, you know, like, I'm sitting here going, I gotta curtail this. And I'm getting some very, you know, salacious messages from Ron Luce at like 2:30, 3 in the morning. And I'm like, man, tomorrow's going to be a scene on the golf course at 9:30. You know, he's only 10 minutes away from the course. I got an hour and 15 minutes to get there. I'm wondering if he's going to be okay and he's going to make it. He did make it, though. And he had an incredible chip shot on 18. So my stick tap goes to Ron Luce for bailing me out, because what he didn't say was that after the great drive that I hit on that hole, I absolutely shanked and took the worst shot in front of a full gallery of everybody else who was attending the bachelor party, who didn't know that it was me who hit the drive, and got booed by all of Ron's friends.
You did get booed. That's right.
I got booed.
Did get booed
by all of Ron's friends after I set up that beautiful shot. And it was super embarrassing for me as an amateur golfer to get booed by everyone for shanking probably, what was it, 60-yard pitch shot off the green that should just be, you know, part of my game at this point. But Ron bailed me out. and then I hit the putt, and it was all good. But it was just booze for Tony there, and so that's why I had to come up clutch with on the green, man. You drive for show and you putt for dough, but Ron Luce can chip them for you.
Hey, that is damn right. I can get you there. I can get you there. I can lead you to water, but I can't make you drink. I'm that kind of golfer.
Last mile delivery. Yeah.
Hey, and got a sweet ovation as well for the chip. It's the only time in my life I'll ever feel like a pro till the day I die. So that was cool.
That was fun.
That'll never happen ever again.
We need to do a Four Feathers golf outing at some point, Steve.
I'm horrible at golf. I would gladly do it.
I'm not good at golf either, Steve. It's fine.
You could just drink more.
It's not about the golf. It's about the content and the fun that it'll be.
I think I've dug myself into a hole with this whole Malort thing. I think that's going to be the expectation.
You did. You're not done. There's going to be like Malort challenges that we throw out there for you.
Shit.
Jepson's going to be sending you gear to wear on the show because you're just.
I got a hat. I'll have to find it next time. But I got a Malort hat.
You're already one step into the abyss.
Yeah,
it's just your thing now. It's going to be a problem.
And I think chugging with fresh here's got the right idea. I've never golfed, but I can drink and smoke cigars.
Hey, that's all you got to do.
Yeah. That's all
you got to do.
You got to have a good time. That's my favorite part of golf, genuinely, because I'm terrible, and for how bad I am, I probably should hate the game. I do, actually, Tony. You can confirm. I tell everybody the whole day how much I hate golf.
You threw at least 3 clubs, one onto a cart path.
More than that. I think I threw at least 6.
I'm pretty sure at one point your cousin looked at me and said he needs to calm down.
I believe that. Wholeheartedly. I wholeheartedly believe that. And probably people look at me and go, Ron Luce gets agitated? I do, especially at golf. I hate the sport. For 18 holes, I hate the sport, and then I tell myself I can't wait to go golfing again. It's a weird, sick addiction that I can't help. So what are you going to do?
Once you start, you just can't stop. It's
once you start, you just can't stop. It's like watching.
I saw a great post though the other day. It said, golf is the last bastion of drinking and driving, where they will send a cart around to you and hand you more alcohol so you can continue to drive around a 1,000-pound vehicle while you're inebriated. And it's the greatest thing that exists in America today. So, I mean, there you go.
There you go.
Their own. And you get to drive a ball around and get mad and throw shit like Ron.
Yeah, you shouldn't, though. Golfer's etiquette says you shouldn't throw shit. So
it doesn't stop him on the PGA Tour either.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
It's a frustrating game.
Yes, it is. Gentlemen, what's on tap next? Potentially some golf in the future, both for players in the NHL as well for the Four Feathers crew. As we wane into the fall, Ron Luce is in football mode for a lot of reasons, besides with hockey on the brain. So it'll be a lot of fun to see what is coming up because, quite frankly, at this point, Tom Curver's training camp, that's pretty much what we're looking at in terms of benchmarks on the horizon, unless some news happens, perhaps a Wyatt Kaiser contract, maybe a trade of some kind. We've seen a couple busy days in the NFL as we wane into the deeper parts of the preseason. Do we get something like that in the NHL? Who knows when it's all said and done, but we will certainly be back and begin ramping up our coverage, as training camp and everything opens for the Chicago Blackhawks. Tom Curvers especially will be a big one for us as well. So if we don't hear from you for a while, it was good talking to everybody during the dog days of August. Of course, you can follow along with the show at Four Feathers Pod on the socials. Steve does a great job, holding it down with the Instagram account. Tony and I largely handle the X duties. So you'll hear from all of us over there, and you'll hear from all of us at our own areas as well. Tony on tap, Loose on tap, Dirty Third 81. Shameless plug, go subscribe to War on Ice as well. Great stuff from you, my friend.
Thank you.
OnTapSportsNet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on the socials, the OnTap Sports Net. We're going to check out what's on tap in Chicago sports, including in Blackhawks hockey. Gentlemen, this was a lot of fun. We went almost an hour and a half. Pretty typical when we haven't been on the airways for about a month. But boys, What do you say? We got out of here the only way we know how with 4 feathers. Let's go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Let's go Hawks.